Very good. Patrick Witt. Patrick Witt. Insurance commissioner. Okay. We have a timer.
Okay.
That's right there. That pretty lady in red. So she'll let you know when your time is running down. Okay. Very good. Thanks, Patrick.
I might need to put on my glasses if I can read that well. I periodically just get close to you. That's what I'm doing. Thank you so much for allowing us to come and speak tonight. Incredible speakers. Mallory, you fired me up. I was, over a coffee shop. I was over at a coffee shop earlier. I was kind of dragging down, we're getting down the home stretch here and had to stop and get a coffee and it didn't quite do the trick. But Stacy, this is my first meeting. I'm awake now. You are. Wow, this is incredible. The energy here is unmatched. I've never seen anything like this at an event. But, hard to follow John, obviously, and harder to get folks excited about insurance. I will do my best. And before jumping in, though, I do want to recognize, we're here in a group of incredible women. I have to give a shout out to an especially incredible woman. My mom is joining us tonight. Yay! So my name is Patrick Witt, and I'm running for insurance commissioner. I'm grateful to be the only insurance commissioner candidate, not only in this state, but in the entire country, endorsed by our 45th president, my former boss, Donald Trump. Yeah! Tonight I want to achieve three things. Number one, obviously a lot of folks in this room don't know who I am. I want to shed some light on my background. Second, I want to make you some promises about what I will do as your next insurance commissioner. And third, I want to ask for your vote on May 24th or before then, as we're seeing a lot of folks turn out early. So my background, grew up here in Georgia, not too far from here actually, in the Johns Creek area. We're in the Chattahoochee High School district, so I played South Forsyth and a number of other teams. And my background is really intimately tied up with football. So I grew up playing football. I mentioned we were in Johns Creek and then moved over to Lilburn. I was the quarterback at Parkview High School. My brother Jeff was the quarterback before me, and we both had an opportunity to go play in college. And then I had a chance to go play briefly in the NFL with the New Orleans Saints.
Awesome.
When football ended, I went into the private sector and then back to law school. And I was at one of the most liberal law schools in the entire country. The same place where Ketanji Brown Jackson apparently forgot what a woman is. And Trump got elected. Trump got elected in my second year of law school. And I was surrounded by that liberal elite that we hear talked about, the sons and daughters of that liberal elite. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, obviously SCOTUS is in the headlines these days. Her granddaughter was in my class. The former governor of New York, Eliot Spitzer, his daughter was in my class. Sons and daughters of the CCP, top members in China, were in my class. And to see their shock and dismay when Trump got elected, because that machine that they belong to, that their parents belong to, Merrick Garland, his daughter, was also in my class. That machine that they belong to exists to prevent things like Donald Trump from happening. They exist to prevent the people wresting power back in their own hands and taking control of their government again. And I took no small pleasure in watching them melt down in front of my eyes as they brought puppies to campus. A little schadenfreude never hurt anybody. But they brought puppies to campus. They offered to cancel finals. They had offered therapy sessions. I kid you not. And, I graduated. I went into the private sector, and they were obviously great years economically. It was a good time to be joining the economy. But I watched as that machine that was surprised by Trump in 2016 go into overdrive to ensure that the America First agenda wasn't as successful as it could be and ensure that President Trump didn't get reelected. And Russia collusion, the hoaxes, the deep state bureaucrats leaking to the press, and I was frustrated by what I saw. And so I said to myself, I can be angry on the sidelines, or I can go get involved. And so I left my job in the private sector to take a 50% pay cut to join the Trump administration. I went to serve. And I was deputy chief and later chief of staff of the U.S. Office of Personnel Management. And similar to the insurance commissioner's office, it's one of those agencies that you may never have heard of before, but actually wields tremendous power behind the scenes. The easiest way to understand what I was doing in the administration is when President Trump would get up there and talk about draining the swamp, our agency was the one leading the implementation of policies and executive orders to do exactly that. So I led the implementation of those executive orders to try and get rid of, or at least give firing power back to the president over people like Anthony Fauci. And I also proudly led the implementation of the executive order to eliminate critical race theory from our federal government.
Yeah.
And the last responsibility that I had, and this is really apropos to the office I'm running for now, is we handled all of the employee benefits for the entire federal government, retirees and their families. So 2.2 million federal workers, retirees and their families, about 9 million Americans in total. I negotiated insurance, health insurance, dental, vision on behalf of those 9 million Americans. And it should come as no surprise, with the art of the deal president in the White House, we achieved the lowest premiums in the past 30 years in that program, and I'm very proud of that. And as John was just talking about, then November 3rd happened. And I had come home to vote and gone back up to D.C., and obviously as a political appointee, your job ends if the president's term doesn't continue, if he doesn't get a second term. And so there were news reports swirling around. Georgia hadn't been called yet. Georgia, we weren't even supposed to really be in competition in play. And so I went to the director of my agency, my boss, Mike Regas, and I said, Mike, I'm going to be most useful to the administration if I go back home and just volunteer. So that's what I did. I took an unpaid leave of absence from my job in the administration, and I flew back home, and I showed up at Trump HQ in Buckhead and just raised my hand and said, use me however you can. And when you're in the administration, there's a Chinese wall between you and the campaign side. But we can watch the rallies, and we had seen Trump get up there